Welcome to the Holistic Health Bites podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Nicholson, crime scene investigator turned functional health investigator. This podcast is here to share bite-sized episodes and unique interviews on a wide variety of health topics to empower, enlighten, and educate you to live your best, most vibrant life. Disclaimer: all information you hear on this podcast is for information only and constitutes individual opinions of the person speaking. This should not be taken as medical advice. Being a listener of this show does not initiate a practitioner-client relationship between you and the hosts or panelists on this show. Please discuss these topics with your medical professionals before making any changes to your health. Okay, let's dive in. Welcome back to the Holistic Health Bites podcast. Today, we're going to shift gears a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit more about the fitness side of things, as well as the importance of building habits. And I am joined by my special guest and friend, Nate Sleger. So welcome, Nate. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about you, your business, kind of how you got into this and how like fitness and habits became your thing?
Absolutely. Just stop me when I talk too much, okay? I was a personal trainer for many years, and found out that everything that I thought I was going to be doing to help people improve their fitness, which really is their health, right, was wrong. I was wrong. My approach was, I thought, man, I'll just tell people what they need to do, and they're going to do it, and they're going to get healthy, and it's going to be awesome, right? I was so excited about sharing all the things that I knew, and after a little while, I realized that's not how this works. It wasn't working. My clients were frustrated. I was frustrated, and so here we are, like 15 years later, and I've learned, for one, that habits are super important. And basically what I did is I just said, okay, enough with exercising. Let's stop learning about that. Let's start learning about psychology and habits and motivation and how to really help people make change. Because if I can do that, if I can help support them in that, they're going to ultimately be successful. So
I love it.
today we have a company, Begin Within. We have a podcast, and it's all about helping people to move forward in a healthier direction as easily as possible by focusing on habits.
I love it. And that also helps them then keep that going, right? Because that's the sustainable side of it. They not only get the results, but they could keep them.
You got it. Yeah, I think for me, I want it, whatever it is that I teach, whatever my clients learn from us, is it should change their life permanently. It should be things they can't unlearn after they've learned it. So it's not about, the secret workout, the secret diet, now I know this is the one thing. It's more about learning about yourself and learning about how to get yourself to do the things that you should do already. You find most people already know what they need to do. It's just getting them to do it. That's the
Actually
challenge.
doing it.
Yes.
Yeah. So what are some of the things that you think people do that make it harder than it needs to be on themselves? Like, where are people going wrong when they're trying to do this stuff on their own?
I think the answer I would give, I heard it in the question. I think just making it harder, making it too complicated. And I think that there's a couple reasons why that sort of happened in the health and fitness industry, but overcomplicating it and trying to do it perfectly, right? Which is connected to overcomplicating it, and not giving themselves space to fail and learn and actually grow in the process, and get to know themselves better, right? Actually appreciate themselves more through the process instead of kind of trying to hate themselves into a healthier place, right?
Yeah, you definitely cannot heal a body that you hate. So I think that is a very valuable place to be, is to really recognize that you're doing these things for benefit. So if you hate the journey, if you're resisting every step of the process, you're not going to stick with it. So you really do have to find the things that work for you, that you like, that you enjoy, that you can at least tolerate. Because if you hate it, you're just not going to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think especially with exercise, that is huge. And that, as a trainer, is one of the big changes that I've had to make. Was this is the best way to do it. This is the way you got to do it. And being more humble about the process from the perspective of being an instructor, a teacher, a trainer, and saying someone who is just simply moving more than they used to is going to be healthier than they were before. And so I got to forget about the dumbbells, kettlebells, all the stuff that I think, oh, this is so great. You got to do it this way. And just say, hey, can we get you to move more? Take a walk. Just, just walk and get the mail every day. If you weren't doing that before, now you're a healthier person. So um, just being humble about what actually is healthier and realizing this is an incremental process. It's not like any of us change overnight. I haven't. And so I have to allow that space for everyone to do this incrementally, one step at a time.
Yeah. And then to also be patient with the results, because, you go for a walk one day, you're not miraculously going to have this perfect ideal health because you did it once. Like that's the beauty and the benefit of building habits is
Mm-hmm.
this is who you're becoming. It's really not even about the end point, but it's about the person that you're becoming when you get there and the identity that you now have when, you've added all these habits and routines to your life. So it really is about the psychology of it and about stepping into that new person. I think that's a great way to approach it.
Yeah, I agree. I think we get to a place where we are putting more value on the inputs than the outputs. We're taking pride in the fact that doing, we're putting forth effort, we're taking action, we're doing something instead of getting so obsessed with the results. The results come when we do this enough, when we change enough. They're gonna happen. But realizing that the inputs, if I become a person that continues to make healthy choices, then that's the battle. Becoming that person that makes the healthier choices, and not necessarily what the scale says. Like that again, I know for a lot of people, that's the thing though. That's don't tell me not to worry about that because that's what I'm worried about. It's going to happen, but we have to become the person that makes the choices that the person you want to become is making, and that's the exciting part of the process.
Yeah, because you could achieve that ideal number on the scale and do it in a terribly unhealthy way.
Yes.
But you could also be doing all the right things, taking the right actions that are actually improving your health on every level and not necessarily see it on the scale. But it's the much better benefit
Mm-hmm.
than doing whatever to get to the result at any cost. Like the process really does matter because there's a lot of stuff going on inside your body that doesn't necessarily translate to what the number on the scale is directly. Eventually, you'll get there, of
Right.
course. Like you said, it takes time. But if you're doing it in all the wrong way just to hit that metric, first of all, you're not going to like it when you get there. You're going to be miserable across the entire way, and you're not going to be able to keep it. Something else will come up, some other disease or condition, or something will happen that will make you backslide faster than anything else, and you'll end up worse. So you're much better off if you can shift that mindset and make it all about becoming a healthy person instead of some arbitrary number on the scale, for sure. But I'm with you. I hear that from a lot of people that are like, but that is the thing I care about. And it's like, that's what we need to fix then, because that is not the healthiest thing to focus on. And there's a lot of reasons for that.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think the idea of I don't want to stay who I am and just change my body. I want to change who I am, and everything else is going to change with it.
So, what have been some of your, I don't know, favorite resources or mentors, or, how did you get inspired to focus on habits? And, was there a driving force behind that?
For the driving force for me was just utter complete failure and feeling like there's got to be something better as someone who's helping others. And I think for me a big epiphany came when I started to treat the clients I was working with the way that I treated myself, right? So I guess like it's the golden rule, right? Which is so ironic because here you are. I'm a personal trainer, and I'm like, how did I get where I am? But let me help my clients get there a different way, right? Uh, and so once I started to really treat them the way that I was treating myself in terms of like patience, in terms of really putting putting the focus on the areas of life that were going to impact my health the most, and realizing that it wasn't necessarily about the time that I was spending in the gym, for example. I knew that for myself, but I was just like, client, you, Susie, you got to get to the gym. Just get to the gym. That's the thing. But I knew for myself, if I was just going to the gym but eating really unhealthy foods, I wasn't I wasn't going to be the healthier person that I wanted to be. So I realized that really it was more about nutrition than it was about the gym. The gym was important, but there were other ways to get the movement, not just being at the gym. So when I kind of just like released the whole like focus on like, this is the way, this is the best way, you got to do it this way, and really opened my mind to helping people the way I would want to be helped, the way I was sort of helping myself in terms of health and fitness. That's when it started to shift. And that's when I got really excited about the psychology of things and started to read. So, some of the books that I recommend and talk about a lot, there's a book called Tiny Habits by BJ Fogg. There's a book called that everyone's heard of now, right? Atomic Habits by James Clear. And then there's a book called The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. Those three, for me, transformed the way I thought about making changes and thinking in terms of habits that, and put it in a way that I could easily communicate, I felt like, to others, instead of it being a real sciencey conversation. It just became like, hey, this is how you do it. Let me show you how to make new habits. And so I'm like forever grateful to those authors and everyone who supported them and the research that they drew on in order to bring those books forward for us. Those were huge. Yeah, books I would recommend if someone hasn't read all three of them, do it. They're all awesome in their own way.
Yeah, I would completely agree. Those are my favorite three habit forming books as well. And I love the way that all three of them explain the process. Even though they're all talking about the same things, they explain it in different ways. And so you can pull these little tidbits out of each one that work for you, that resonate with you, that make sense to you, that give you that small action step that you need to take today to move your life forward. And those would be my top three recommendations as well. So I think that's fantastic.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. And I think just in general, and I know that you get this, being in the process of or allowing continued education to be part of the process for all of us in getting healthier. I mean, people listen to this podcast, they get that. Um, they're they're gonna be successful because they're the type of person that is seeking out education from someone like you, an expert, and they're here on a regular basis to listen and to keep growing. When someone is doing that consistently, I'm so confident that they're going to figure it out, because continuing to get education from others, maybe someone who's even just a little farther ahead than you are right now, is huge in feeling motivated, in getting what you need to continue to grow, in having the exposure to new ideas that help you kind of to see the blind spots that you wouldn't find by yourself.
Yeah. And I love the quote. I always forget who said it, but you become most like the five people you spend the most time with. And so if you want something in your life, find a way to spend more time with people who have that or who are on that same journey and are maybe a step ahead of you. Because just by being in their vicinity, it will get you there faster as well. So if you're trying to lose weight or plan for a 5K or whatever, hang out with people that are already doing that. And
Mm-hmm.
by the very nature of associating with those people, you'll do more of the things that are helping them do the thing. And it's just amazing. So I think, yeah, having that support and being surrounded by people who get it, who aren't sabotaging you, don't hang out with people that hit every happy hour and, all the drive-throughs and want to eat out for every session or every, lunch break or every party or every celebration. find people who would rather meet at the park and go for a walk or go for a hike or do, something active or something that's in line with your goals.
Yeah. Yeah. And we live at a time now where you can spend time with people on social media, on your podcast, reading books. Like we can connect with just about anybody that we want, which is it could be super dangerous, right? We
Yeah.
know that, and it can have a very negative effect on us if we're not careful. I like what you said though of just like being more conscious about the people that we allow into our inner circle and realizing that whether we're scrolling on social media, we're listening to a podcast, or reading something, like those are people, we're allowing them in. So they're gonna influence us. They're gonna have an effect on us. And so it could be dangerous, but at the same time, it's exciting because whoever you want to learn from, they're out there putting stuff out for you to just gobble it up and now make it part of you and part of your journey.
Yeah, and I love that you just said that because that's exactly what I was going to say is I like to update that quote just a little bit because back when that was said originally, it was you really kind of had to have people in your life in person. That was
Yeah.
truly about, your colleagues and your neighbors and the spouse and family and people that you spend the most time with in that realm. But today, it's really the five people or the five influences that you spend the most time dealing with or listening to. So that could be a podcast. That could be a trainer that you hire or a professional that you're working with. It could be a business coach. It could be your neighbor or your spouse or, it's the five biggest influences in your life. And that's one of my favorite parts about technology is we have access to all of them and we get to choose. And so I think choose wisely and you
Yeah.
can absolutely change your life if you choose your best five people.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. Definitely. High
So what
five.
would be some tips that you would give for someone who maybe does have a goal in mind and they're just kind of like, it feels like there's 1,000 steps. Where do I begin or how do I formulate a plan? What would you kind of tell someone who is struggling with getting started?
Mm. Um, we're talking about motivation then, right?
Just really any goal. So it could be a fitness goal, it could
Yeah.
be a nutrition or, just anything.
Yeah. My first bit of advice, and I think this happens to all of us. We get, we want something, but and maybe we see the path to it, but it just seems overwhelming. We're not sure what to do first. My first bit of advice is always make it so easy. At least that first step, make it so easy that you have absolutely no concern whatsoever about your ability to take that step. Zero, you know, 100% I can do this. I got this. And that's the step to focus on, right? So it's not the 5K. Like that's my goal. My goal is just to like get my sneakers on. That's it. Just focus on that goal every day. And if you have good reasons for wanting to do the 5K, you're gonna once those shoes are on, you're gonna go. I know you will. But make the first step the one that you really focus on to get going. Make it so easy that you're just like, oh, this is almost ridiculous. It's so easy. Of course I'm gonna be able to do it. And you're gonna be fine. Because once you take that step, motivation follows action instead of thinking that action is going to follow motivation, that somehow laying in my bed in the morning that I'm just this motivated guy and I'm going to attack the day. It doesn't work. At least it doesn't work every day that way. It
Right.
works of just focus on one little step at a time. Once you take it, you're like, yeah, I'm headed down the path. Here I go. I get some momentum going and motivation builds. So make it easy. That's my, it is not like this sage advice or anything.
It is
It's just
though.
simple and practical. Make
Yeah.
it easy.
I love it. I love it. And I love that you talk about, not waiting around for the motivation and that really follows the action. I talk about that both with motivation and with willpower. Like, stop waiting for willpower and motivation. Like, there are some bad penny on the sidewalk that you're just going to find. They're not just going to happen upon you. I mean, yeah, you might have a day here and there where you do have more motivation and you just can't wait to go do whatever it is you want to do, or that you are able to resist the temptation in the break room or whatever. But for the most part, they don't just come.
Right.
Motivation and the ability to withstand things or having more willpower come from taking action, come from focusing more on the end point than, in the moment. And so I love the practice of making it simple. I think the challenge for a lot of people, and maybe you can tell me a little bit about your experience with this, is because it's so simple, it's also really easy not to do. Because you're like, really, what good is it going to do if I put my shoes on? Yes, I could do it. I will do it. But do I really have to do it? I could do it. And like getting people to even take that simple step. Do you struggle getting people to take that simple step once they identify what it is?
I haven't. I guess in answer to the question, I think that it's, and you touched on this too, is connecting that step with the bigger focus, the bigger picture, the bigger why, and the fact that and we talk a lot with our personal training clients, our nutrition coaching clients, the idea of becoming a healthier person. Like that's our focus. Whatever goal someone brought, whatever result they want, weight loss, getting stronger, whatever it is, it's about getting healthier. It's about becoming a healthier person. So connecting whatever that real easy step is with the fact that when you take it, you are now a healthier person than you were before you had taken it. And realizing that it's the first step in a process. There's more steps down this path, but we've got to take that first step. So connecting it to the fact that you're a new person when you put on those shoes, when you touch the treadmill, when you put your feet on the floor, 30 minutes earlier than you did yesterday, you are new. You are a new, healthier person. And I want to celebrate that. Anyone who's doing that, I will celebrate them all day long for just taking the one simple step. So, and I think maybe that's another little piece is celebrate when you do take it. And if it feels ridiculous, it's okay. Ridiculous feels fun. Oh, this is so silly, but I'm going to sell it. You know what? I put my shoes on. Text me about it, and I will tell you you are amazing for doing that.
Yeah, I think that's a big one. And I am definitely guilty of this as well. And I have to remind myself that that celebration is huge. I mean, it may seem like the dumbest thing. I mean, even if it's bigger than you just put your shoes on, even if you did
Yeah.
something that was actually a significant step, we somehow downplay all of the good things that we do. And we really, really need to celebrate every bit of those things. Whether you avoided doing something that you wanted to avoid doing, or you did a thing that you really want to do, we need to celebrate those. And of course, we need to celebrate appropriately. You
Mm-hmm.
don't celebrate not eating a donut by going out for ice cream. We do have to celebrate appropriately, but I think that is such a huge overlooked piece of it is really truly having gratitude and being proud of the things that you're doing for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Recognizing just how important that really is vital to this whole process. So I think I'm with you. We need to cheer for each other for even those little things like you put your shoes on today. Even if you didn't actually go for the walk or the run, if you just took the step and put your shoes on and that was your goal, we need to celebrate that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think one thing that I've learned too from the research that others have done that they've shared is the idea of celebration and rewards, especially with fitness, have over the years gotten a little bit off track because the old way of thinking about it was after I work out all week, I'll celebrate my success with a reward, whatever it is. And what we know now is that that doesn't really work. It has to be right away. And I use the example of like training a dog. I have a dog, and I know that if I want him to learn something new, he needs a treat immediately after he does the thing I want him to do. Otherwise he's not gonna get it. He has to connect that action with the treat. And is our brains work similarly when we're trying to develop habits, right? The treat or the celebration has to come as quickly as possible after we do the thing. And if we wait, we miss the opportunity to kind of wire that in as a very positive experience. Putting on my shoes or eating the broccoli or whatever it is, putting the pan on the stove, this small step of preparing my meal, whatever step like the celebration has to come as quickly as possible of in order for it to get wired in. So there's no like at the end of the week I'll do this thing when I stick to it. Like we need to do it in the moment as quickly as possible in order for it to really benefit us.
I think that's a really critical component there. So what would you recommend for someone? Like what is a celebration or what is a reward that you could kind of do at any moment? What would you do for that?
You got to do it at any moment. So what I have found, and I think the research is there too, especially like BJ Fogg, Tiny Habits comes to mind, is generally our physical posture can um lead our emotions. So taking on some physical posture that makes us feel good can provide that little jolt of positivity, that little feeling of celebration, of goodness, of feeling really good in any moment. So a couple of ways that have been recommended to figure out what's a good celebration for me. And I've been doing this. I don't do we have the videos available?
Yeah.
Or okay. I'll you already know what mine is. Like I have this little fist pump,
I
like
love it.
so you can just picture your sports team winning the game in the final seconds of the match. Like what would you do? What would be the thing you would do in that moment? Right? What posture would you take on? What would happen with your hands, your face, your body? That's a celebration. If you can just imitate that posture, you're gonna feel just a little jolt of like, ooh, yeah, that feels good. You can feel good anytime you want. Another one would be if you had a wastebasket across the room and you just wrinkled up a piece of paper and tossed it and it went in on the first try. What would you do? What would be yes, it's like, yeah, little fist pump, high five somebody, who knows? Whatever it is, everybody's unique and individual, but just kind of like playing around with it and then, trying it in real time. I put my shoes on. Yes. How did it work? Did I feel good about it? Do I feel kind of silly? Silly is good. Like silly feels fun. Fun is good. So we're able to give ourselves just these good feelings right in the moment. And it helps us to continue to take the steps that we naturally want to follow, that little one that we were focusing on.
I love that. I think that is such a great thing. And I love the analogy of like, what would you do if your sports team won? Because I think that's a great thing. We can all picture that. We can all think of like our team or our horse or, whatever thing you like to
Yeah,
watch, whatever competition. We can all think about what we would do if we were winning. What would you do if you won at gambling or, like you can all think of that. So I think that's a great way to look at it because we all have the thing that we tend to go to. And so, yeah, just do that.
sure.
Just
Or
make yourself do
parents,
that.
if your child's sports team won or your child
Yeah.
scored the winning goal or whatever, what would you do in that moment? Like, yeah, we can figure it out. We would do something. We're not just gonna sit there. Yay,
Right.
we're gonna our posture is gonna change, and that
Yeah.
is a posture that can help us in this process. It's pretty cool.
I love that. I think that's a great reminder. And I definitely know people are not doing enough of that for sure. Because we are building up for those, like, when I hit this, I'm going to go buy new shoes, or I'm going to take a trip, or like, we have these big rewards, but they're too far down the road. And then you don't associate it with the thing that you did to earn that. And
Right.
yeah, it needs to be in the moment. Not that you can't also do the big thing, but you need to do the little thing in the moment for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And it could just, sometimes just little affirmations, those type of things, like something, not everybody is an animated like person that loves pumping their fists like I do. But maybe just like I, I'm becoming a healthier person, something like that, just that once we say it to ourselves or, you know, we feel better. Yeah, I'm becoming a healthier person. I'm doing what I set out to do. I'm moving in the right direction. Little affirmations like that aren't, there's nothing too crazy there. Just say something yourself that makes you feel good, that reaffirms the fact that you did what you set out to do.
Yeah. And for other people, that maybe that's journaling. Maybe that's you actually write it down or you write it on your calendar or, there's lots of different ways to do these things, but definitely keep it easy, do it immediately.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are all great pieces of advice. Any other kind of last tips or things that you'd like to leave the audience with?
Yes, I would say, and you'll relate to this as well, Andrea, is the part of the value of a coach, is someone helping you, is that they provide some of that celebration. They're providing the guidance and help in designing the steps that are going to get you where you want to go. But they'll also, and sometimes we underestimate the value of that, is that individual is going to help you celebrate every step of the way if they're doing it really well. And that is priceless, to have somebody in your life that basically exists to celebrate you doing the thing that you have been having trouble getting yourself to do.
Yeah, I think that's amazing advice. And I do hear that a lot of times. I'll get emails from people that, join my coaching programs. And before we've even started, they're like, that was what I needed to get going. And I have all this new excitement and motive. Like, just committing to someone else that they're going to take this step sometimes is all the thing they needed to do. And then
Right.
obviously they continue to get great results because of that ongoing celebration and feedback, and having that, somewhat unbiased opinion who can see your blind spots and kind of point those things out. I think there's so many great benefits, but a lot of times just having that person in your back pocket is the thing that you need, because they're going to be behind you and they're going to celebrate you and they're going to pick you up when things don't go well. And yeah, absolutely. I think that's huge.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing all of your habit information with us and your resources and tips and tricks and all the things. You also have an amazing podcast. So you want to tell everybody about the podcast?
Yeah, absolutely. It's called the Begin Within Health Show, and I'm on there now twice a week. Once a week is just a quick kind of fitness hack, something that typically I find myself repeating to my clients over and over again. So then I share that. Those are on Tuesdays, usually 5 to 10 minutes, and then Thursdays I interview an expert. And our goal always is to get as much as we can from that expert, but then distill it down into a very usable step or two that we can all take and apply it to our own health journey.
I love it. That's such a great model to give the actionable steps in both the short episodes and the longer ones. I love it.
Awesome.
Any resources or anything else you'd like to share with the audience before we close out?
They are welcome to check out my ebook. They go to beginwithin.fit/ebook, and that will redirect them back to the podcast and some of the episodes that touch on 5 different areas wherein we build these habits. So 5 different areas of life that will help to support a health journey like the ones we've been talking about.
Oh, I love it. And of course, we will link all of that up in the description. So you'll have easily clickable links and all the things to go find all of that amazingness from Nate. So thank you so much for sharing all your information with us today. I always appreciate having these conversations with you, and I'm sure we'll do it again.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for being a faithful listener to the podcast. I'd love it if you left me a 5-star review on this podcast so that others can more easily find this valuable information. Did you know I also work one-on-one with clients? I approach solving health challenges like I approached solving crimes, by conducting a thorough investigation into your case. Sadly, hundreds of millions of people in the US have insulin resistance, prediabetes, and diabetes, and the vast majority have no idea. I'm here to fix that. If you struggle with low energy, stubborn weight, hypertension, sleep disturbances, or any other undesired symptoms, let's talk. All you have to do is schedule a free call. The link will be in the show notes. And no, you do not need to live near me.